I saw the video that Chad did, you know, talking about the weed control, and like I said earlier, you know, it's not a competition about who makes the most and all that. Chad does really good. Chad is rigged for exactly what he's doing. He's making just like me, he's making the most money based on his equipment, his location, and his clientele. You know, and I will say that if you're in the lawn maintenance business and that's what you're doing, it's a whole lot easier to add weed control and fertilization onto it. I never, and that might be one of the reasons why I never did it, you know, did that, because well, I don't really know why, because I never chased the license. And I know the license is, you know, it's a little bit difficult to do, but you know, anything that I or you or any of us really apply ourselves to, we could probably overcome if we, you know, if that's what we really want. There's not too many things in my life that I really wanted, whether it be work-wise, material item-wise, or whatever. If I really wanted it, or really wanted to make something happen, then I you know, 95% of the time it'll happen. It might not happen quite like I planned it to happen, but it always comes through. So you know, and that's what an entrepreneur does. He puts his mind to something, and you know, if I saw a way to make more money, then I would. But see, I don't know that much about the weed control. I just know that I put it, and not that it is or good or bad or whatever, I put it kind of in the same category with lawn maintenance. You got to have high volume, and that would be the drawback to me, especially if you're just starting out. Well, when I first started out doing lawn maintenance, I wasn't qualified to have a machine like this. I didn't know anything about what people were paying for, what to buy, none of that. But I could have went into the weed control game, and and you know, probably would have a lot more customers than I got now as far as the lawn maintenance and weed control. But if you're a beginner in the lawn maintenance, and you got, say, 10 or 15 customers, and you can do the weed control, I mean, that's what I would do. I would start on the ground level doing that. Then you can build it up as you're building the lawn maintenance up. But to get into the spray game, it doesn't take nearly the resources. I mean, I think Chad mentioned that in the video, because it's kind of an add-on to the lawn maintenance. For me, it would have been, because of the volume. It's all about the volume, man. And like Chad said, you know, if you're going to do just weed control, you need 400 accounts or so. And I'm not saying that that's impossible, but that was a lot harder for me to do than saving my money up from the 100 or so accounts and buying a skid. You know, and like we all talk about all the time, it's really all about what you want to do, you know. But to get in the skid game, it takes a lot more money. Now, I know people that are in the skid steer game, you know, grading and brush cutting and doing trees and all that never have been in the lawn maintenance game. See, I had to kind of, I didn't have the resources to do the skid game in the beginning, and I didn't have the know-how. I learned everything from the lawn maintenance, because the lawn maintenance is the center point for everything. Now, if you take your lawn maintenance money and you blow it on damn Bahama vacations and stuff, then you probably never will have a skid steer. You know. But if you're smart with the lawn maintenance money and you see other ways to make money, then it's a no-brainer. And what you got to play on and what you got to factor in is you have to have accounts for the lawn maintenance. So why not have those same accounts do the weed control fertilization? So it doesn't costing you more. And I know that there's a lot of money in that. But there's good money in a lot of stuff if you're efficient and all, and you got the right equipment and everything. But you got to spend your money on the right equipment to really be super efficient. And I know that Chad was minimizing the labor, and I'm not saying that it's a heaving and hoeing labor like that. I'm saying it requires you to have labor to make a lot of money at it. It's a requirement because, if you're solo, not that the labor per job is a lot as far as the physical labor. When I say labor, I'm talking about the labor that you have to hire in order to be able to service 400 accounts. You got to probably going to have help, especially if you're doing lawn maintenance too. I don't know that, but that would be my guess. I know I wouldn't want to walk around 400 lawns solo. It would be like, that's 200 a week. So you figure 200 a week is what? 40 a day? 40 properties a day that you would have to weed control. If you had 400 customers, you're not going to do 40 a day by yourself not for any long period of time, I don't think, unless your density is like just off the chart. It's a possibility. Let me grab my salmon, man. Can't remember everything that Chad was talking about, but and I know a couple guys were saying, well, there's a lot more to learn in the lawn maintenance. A couple guys were saying there's a lot more to learn in the weed, and fertilization game. The chemical mix up and all. And there's probably is a lot more to learn, book learning. Out here, there's a lot to learn doing this too, and it might not be where you're studying chemical mixtures, but it's a different kind of learn. It's a different kind of learning. It's a physical thing. Like chaining the machine down. Knowing what the machine can and can't do. Knowing what jobs to take it to. Learning how to price the jobs. Making sure everything is, there's a lot to remember. You got a lot of moving parts. You got the trailer, you got trailer tires, you got to have a big truck. You got to, there's quite a few things that make it, super expensive, really. But once if you can overcome all that, then you can make it. You can do pretty good. The thing with me is I don't have to work every single day. I would like to, and you guys see me work pretty regular, but I'm not out here making money every single day. Like yesterday, I didn't make anything, but yesterday is a little bit different. In order for me to make that money today. One thing about the fertilization game is you can make your money every day. So even if it ain't $1,400 or $1,600 or whatever, even if it ain't that, if it's $700 and you work 2 days, you're at 14. When I work 1 day and I'm at 14. So it's really, to me, when you talk about the ability to make more money or whatever, it has a lot to do with where you're at too, and what you want to do, like I said, and all the things you have to be versus skid steer game versus the weed control. But you don't start out doing, if I had any advice for anybody, and this is just me, looking back on the last 20 years or so, if I'd have known what I know now, I probably would have been in the weed control game a long time ago, because it just makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, if you're already in the lawn maintenance, why not? That's my thing. So you can, you know, get more work from each customer. I never did that. I just kept cutting grass and, you know, doing side jobs and stuff like that before I had the skid, you know. But then in the winter I would be starving. That was the main thing that made me, you know, that makes me weary of the weed control, makes me weary of everything is the off season. Because in my area, the off season, I don't know what they do. Because I don't know how much spraying you know you do in the wintertime on Bermuda grass. I don't know. But in the summertime, shoot, Chad or me, neither one of us got time to do our side, you know, a whole lot of our side gig. You know, like in the summertime, I don't hardly have time to run the skid, because you got to make time to run the skid. You can't just, you know, it ain't like mowing a yard where you go over there for an hour. You gotta do days. So there's definitely a downside to both for real. There definitely is. I think the downside to the skid game is how much everything costs. How much you gotta invest. And just because you invested, don't mean that you're gonna win. Don't mean that you're gonna be able to keep it busy. There's a lot of skid steer guys that go out of business. You know, you invest in all this equipment and then you can't do what you do with it. You're in trouble. With the weed control, lawn maintenance is but you got to have a lot of customers, man. In my area, you know, after you've been in business for a long time, like Chad and I have, and we've been doing lawn maintenance, you know, like we do. You know, you as you get older, you know, you start to burn out on some of this stuff. So some of you young guys that watch our channels and stuff, you got to know that, well, after you've been doing the lawn maintenance for 15 years, 16 years, 20 years, a lot of times, and not everybody, but a lot of times, people step out of it because of a lot of the underlying issues that a lot of people don't talk about. The volume of work that you have to do, the volume of places you have to be, the labor, the equipment. You know, it ain't, I don't know, it's just busy work. And you know, you're making good, and it's really up to you how good you make, because, and you gotta, based on your equipment and your density and your know-how to be efficient level. I know how to be super efficient. If you don't learn nothing else, you'll learn that. And I can be as efficient as I'll get out mowing grass based on my density and everything right now. And I could work, you know, 8 or 9 hours every day mowing grass, and I wouldn't make as much as I do in 4 hours running the skid. And I also wouldn't have the expenses, you know, the truck, the fuel, the time, the time. The lawn maintenance game, to make top dollar, it will consume you. And if you don't watch out, it will run over you. I know that. So that's why my business is like it is. I'm not, you know, my thinking is always, if you're smart with your money on the other end, you don't have to work as hard as somebody that ain't. And, you know, but you don't just wake up one day thinking that. You build the business around that as you're, you know, growing or whatever. I haven't taken the business to another level. It's been an intentional thing, because I don't have high quality labor. And without high quality labor, I'm not willing to get out here in the 150-degree heat, or 100-degree heat, the Georgia sun and the summers are here, to where you know, I'm having to be out in that crap for 10 hours a day. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what people want to do, but I'm built a little bit different than some, especially being a solo operator. Well, man, Chad's a solo operator too, man. He does all the books and everything too. Right, but Chad is 15 years younger than me. I didn't start my business until I was Chad's age. So by that fact, he's got all this experience at age 35 in his prime. Man, if I see, I didn't know anything. It comes back to what you know and what you don't know. You know, I mean, Chad's got a nice leg up on most folks his age in this game because he's been doing it for so long. Most people don't start out doing this lawn maintenance stuff and are still doing it when they're 40 or 35 if they started out when they were 20 or 15. Some are, but they ain't doing YouTube. I don't know. You know, him being 35, he's got more energy and more knowledge at that age than I ever had at that age. Now, as he gets older, and especially if he steps out of the lawn mowing game, it's the lawn mowing game, I hate to say it, to all the dedicated lawn mowing guys, that is the lowest form, the lowest paying work out here. Mowing, but of course it's the fastest, excuse me, the fastest pace too. So I just like the skid because I'm comfortable with it, and I like doing trees because I did firewood for all those years and I was dropping trees all the time. So I'm comfortable with all that stuff. And yeah, I could go and learn the weed game, but do I ask myself, do I want to? At 55 years old, yeah, that's what you always got to ask yourself. Well, it'd be cool if I could hire somebody that's got a license. That'd be okay. And me buy all the equipment. That's how I think. And I don't know, you know, this is not nothing that nobody's arguing about or whatever. This is just, and he parked the truck right where I parked this trailer. Oh, man, why would you park it where I parked this trailer? See, little stuff like that, I don't know, man. Little stuff like that just bugs me, man. It ain't a big deal, but dude, come on, man. I parked my big trailer right there. That's the parking place for the trailer. You don't never block that off, man, when you know I got the skid out. I mean, dude, come on, man. Little stuff like that just it bothers me more than it should, really. He did great today. You know, he worked hard. I gave him a little extra. So one guy was saying something about, well, you're gonna run out of trees to push over then before you run out of fertilization yards. Well, you might be right, but a skid can do a lot more than push trees over, man. And even though you might run out of trees to push over before you run out of fertilization work, but every tree you push over, you're getting 10 times the money. So you got to look at that. I mean, but of course, you know, the skid steer costs a lot more money too. You can't go back. You can't look at how much money you make with a piece of equipment when the piece of equipment costs so much money, because that directly impacts how much money you're really making. Yeah, you might go out and make $1,400 in 5 or 6 hours, but you got to weigh what the machine costs, you know, and what all the attachment costs. But to think that pushing trees over is the only thing a skid can do, or, you know, that is, I mean, a skid can do a lot of stuff, especially if you know what you're doing. And I'd be the first one to say, I don't know what I'm doing all the time. You know, I'm trying. But I didn't push a tree over today, and I made good money. I didn't push a tree over yesterday, day before yesterday, and I made good money. You know, so you can't be thinking about it, okay, well, all Ray does with the skid is push trees over. Though that is a good thing. What always comes back to me when you talk about the differences, and I'm not talking about the money part, I'm talking about the chaotic amount of customers you got to have in order to make top dollar in the, you know, weed fertilization game and the mowing game. And I don't know, maybe Chad can answer, how much money can a solo guy generate, or how many properties can a solo guy do of the weed control per day, if that's all he was doing. I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be money in it, because you got companies, that's all they do. But I sense that Chad is, you know, feeling around for other things besides the mowing game. And though if you're efficient like Chad is, and like I am, you can make money at the mowing game. I do fine at it. But what happens is there's a lot of headache that goes with it. And then that is what ends up biting a lot of people. Oh man, I made a killing, man. And yeah, but you know, to make a killing, you got to deal with, you know, these 25 customers that you did that day. And you got to be on the schedule. You got to make sure they're paying. You got to, you know, it's just a lot, man. Truck breakdown, you're through. You're done, because if you don't finish today, you know, it's just a lot, man. And for me, I'm getting too old for that shit, man. I don't like a lot. I want steady and regular. That's what I want. So, but anyway, I'm finna get in here and kick back, man. I know I'm gonna be a little sore, but it's okay, man. I do what I need to do, man, to make top dollar out here. And let me get on in the house, so me and Sweet Pea can count the little money we got and make some deposits, man. Pay some bills, y'all. Deuces!